This report just opens another very interesting door for Montreal as the trade rumors have been circulating on how the Habs are looking to add talent to their top six, but a recent report from RG.org had an NHL source and Western Conference executive shed some more light as apparently Kent Hughes is calling up many teams, and two teams in particular have been working the lines. We have to get into all the latest Habs trade rumors and some very likely targets, but also a big update on the Habs roster heading into this game against the Mammoth, and you're going to want to pay attention to all of this, and this is a big one here today, Jesse, as we're going to get rid of the chat there on the side. Why not? Right now, Jakub Dobeš, we thought he would maybe get this start. We knew he deserved it. I think we've been both talking about this on the stream, all this. We want Dobeš to start, and it is confirmed. And let me just be honest, I would have not been surprised if Samuel Montembeault got the start versus the Utah Mammoth, because we have a back-to-back this weekend. But Jesse, this pretty much guarantees that Jakub Dobeš is going to get 3 games out of the Habs 4, really. Like, you know, he played last game, and he'll get at least one in the back-to-back and this one against the Mammoth. What do you think about this decision? I know we've both been looking forward to it, but I love that Marty is really, hey, he's pulling the trigger. He's saying, you know what? This guy deserves it.
Yeah, this is the right call. And while we know that Dobeš is young and Marty was worried about putting a little bit too much pressure to him early on, this is the right call. In fact, it needs to be done, Josh. We know like how tightly grouped teams are in the Eastern Conference right now. I love that Martin St. Louis is really starting to go to Dobeš here. This is possibly, you know, the sign now that Dobeš is officially the starter for the Montreal Canadiens. Again, not a moment too late, because we know the playoffs are going to get here before we know it. Every point matters. So really putting the goalie in that you think has the best chance to win is so huge in this, Josh. And one thing that we can know about Dobeš is he's going to seize this opportunity with two hands. He's got that fire. He's got that desire, but he's also got that technical ability to back it up as well. We know in the net he's been working on that, just staying a little bit more compact, not kind of moving around as much, and just letting that size really work for him, getting square. And, you know, really, again, he's going to be counted on right now because Montembeault's still really working on it. He's still going through it right now. I'm hoping, Josh, like that this isn't just like kind of like a flash in the pan, but that Marty starts going to the Dobeš well a little bit more regularly here going on forward.
And like we've seen what Dobeš can do when he's instilled with confidence. We saw him go 6-0 in the first month of this season, really the first full month. We saw him go 5-0 to start his NHL career against like top tier teams. And Montreal has a tough stretch here, right? Some very, very good teams coming up on this West Coast road trip, and Dobeš is in a prime position to get to have some very important wins. So you're absolutely right. Like that fire in him, you know he wants to do well. That emotional post-game interview, there's nothing that matters more to this guy than winning games. And that's why I'm excited. So leave your thoughts on Dobeš down below. But we're going to get quickly into the big stuff here today. Like, look, the trade rumors, they're never stopping, right? We know, we're like, okay, Kent's probably looking. And like this recent report, though, this just opened a whole new floodgate, right? Montreal is not done. That's for sure. They'd still like to add a center or a top 6 player to their lineup, says a Western Conference executive, and this article from RG.org is linked down below. So first off, straight up, not done. Hughes is active in making calls and checking in on players. We know Nashville and St. Louis are also talking to everyone right now. Lots of chatter. Let's see where this goes. And there was another interesting bit on Engstrom that maybe we'll get to in a bit, but Nashville and St. Louis is interesting, Jesse. And, you know, maybe we'll get to some St. Louis guys in the future, but in Nick Kyprios' recent list of top trade targets, also linked below, 2 Predators are there in Steven Stamkos and Ryan O'Reilly, right? There's some Blues players there too, none that are like too, oh my gosh, I really want them, but the fact that we're seeing Stammer and O'Reilly, Habs ringing, Blues ringing, Predators ringing, like, I just can't help but talk about these guys again. Like, I don't know, I know it's a risky move with Stamkos, and I know O'Reilly is less likely to be moved than Stamkos or maybe some other guys, but Jesse, at this point, it's all coming together right now, and kind of a perfect storm for Montreal, especially with the amount of young talent we have that's doing well. We can almost afford to pay up. I don't know. I feel like I'm not the only one that's sensing that something big is brewing here.
For sure. As Montreal's looking to kind of fill out the depth on their team, you know, when it rains and starts to pour, one move can often spur another one. But we know the roster freeze is coming up here on December 20th. It's also compounded by the fact that we know that basically Nashville, it's said right now, and St. Louis, I quote, are talking to everyone right now. We now have noticed that also the Vancouver Canucks have entered that chat where basically they're going to be having a fire sale on their veterans. You know, Brock Besser is maybe an interesting name to mention. Not that center fit, But again, fitting that veteran, the vibes fit, the production is there, 25 goals last year from him. But we're living in Kent Hughes' kitchen right now where he never stops cooking, right? And I mean, like, why would you, when you're one of the youngest teams in the league, you're extremely promising in terms of what we can do in the future here. So Kent Hughes, he's biding his time, like whether it's in like not trading like a David Reinbacher too quickly, of like selling low, which we know like his MO is he doesn't do moves like that. He waits till the value gets up. That patience he's showing with David Reinbacher, we might need to revisit that. That might be a good look.
Yeah.
That patience that he's showing right now and getting that top 6 for the team, which for me is an interesting wrinkle. The fact that they're saying they're not just open to just a center. Like, for me, that's showing like how motivated they are. Like, we'll add to this team how we need to really in our top 6 here. And again, Kapanen has played valiantly, but again, even putting him a little bit lower down the lineup and how his production could potentially even increase there and playing against some lesser competition is very interesting. But again, I'm liking that we're biding our time. We're waiting, but it's kind of that perfect spot where you want to wait, you want to be patient. But this season's chugging along, Josh, and I would not be surprised if he can't do a move before that roster freeze of December 20th.
Yeah, and a common theme, and you mentioned it here, like, just how close the East is. Like, you almost don't have much time to just say, okay, let's figure this out. Now, look, last year, I think through 28 games, we had a rough start, but we were still only 4 points out of a playoff spot. Right now, the East is still so close. Like, other teams who we're seeing even at the bottom of the standings now, teams like Buffalo, Toronto, they could still absolutely turn it around, right? Like, the standings are so close. You really want to take that step ahead and be the first domino to fall, right? Like, the last thing you want is some other team, maybe in the Atlantic, a team you're competing with, to go grab one of these guys, right? And you brought up a great point with Vancouver, right? Besser, funny you mentioned the center thing. He's not a center, but apparently he's taking some reps at practice, I heard. I don't know if that's true. Ridiculous. Their center situation is brutal. Like, they're worse than us, so I feel for them. But, like, you're so right. Like, Vancouver, all these things. So many teams looking around. And if you go through this article from Kyprios, there's so many guys up for grabs. But also the question is, what would Montreal have to pay? And I want to end this off by bringing up a very interesting note here on Adam Engstrom. Now, we're anticipating him to make a season debut at some point this weekend. And in this article, an NHL source said that they heard Engstrom impressed a lot of scouts over the last few weeks, especially this weekend. The Canadiens like him a lot and just called him up. I don't know if they're showcasing him or trying to get a handle of what he can do in the NHL, but he's another promising kid. Now, again, this is not Adam Engstrom is on the trading block. But Jesse, when you look at the D-core, and even the forward core, a guy like Joshua Waugh, right? He's not going great. There's a guy, Brad Lambert, another young winger who's not, anyway, another young player in Winnipeg who's not really fulfilling his destiny with them. And you wonder, could you get a little swap there? There's so many different names here, but like if Engstrom could prove himself, Jesse, especially with Guhle coming back at some point, you have to make decisions in your D-core. So all is that to say, Montreal is definitely not going to run out of options to tempt other teams with, and I think that's why we are in such a prime position to go in and grab one of these many available players.
And the fact that Adam Engstrom is playing so well right now opens up tons of possibilities. And we remember, while we're not saying that Kent Hughes is trying to trade Adam Engstrom, we do need to be cognizant of the fact that Matheson contract, he's looking for an extension. It's probably looking like he's going to be staying with the team. In fact, I think a lot of Habs fans are going to want him to stick around right now. But again, as we're looking at this D-core, like Engstrom's a younger guy, like Dobson's still young, Struble's young, Hutson, Xhekaj, like there's a lot of youth. So for me, like, it's not so much that like we want to trade Engstrom, but I think having that balance between a little bit more experienced guys like a Matheson, and then we already got a lot of young guys on the D-core, even though I like an Adam Engstrom, that potentially does open up some spots when you're just looking for that balance. Because again, that's why we did the trade last year with Justin Barron. We had just too many young guys on our D-core all at the same time. That being said, guys like Xhekaj, Struble, they're growing, but it's the youngest team in the league. And especially defensively, if you're looking to be in the playoffs and really compete, getting a little bit more experience there is absolutely key. You have to feel like Kent Hughes is very much knowledgeable of that fact. So we'll have to see how this plays. Like, first off, I just want to see what Adam Engstrom can do at the NHL level. It seems like a phenomenal player. At the end of the day, we have some options. When players are coming out like a Jakob Dolbecher and Adam Engstrom, and now we're going to rely on them ahead of schedule in different ways. That type of opportunities for a younger team that just keeps getting younger and better really just opens up so many great possibilities for Kent Hughes.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, like, we saw this team being young for the last couple of years, where these guys, like, we didn't even have the amount of veterans we do now, and there was a lot of mistakes, right? And I think there's going to be some along the way, but just seeing where that potential lies, right? And like you said, I think Engstrom has a lot of great potential. Now, will his reads at the NHL level be up to speed? Those offensive reads, those breakout passes, those rushes, coming back on defense, making reads, we'll see. But I'm excited for it because, again, like, we have a plethora of options. It's a spoil of riches right now with Montreal, and I can't wait to see how they all pan out. But look, a move still is almost certainly going to be coming. Every single day it feels like we're hearing how Kent Hughes is never off his phone. I can't wait to see what comes of this. Leave your thoughts down below because that'll do it for this episode. But hey, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news, all the Habs happening, trades, all that stuff, this is the spot to be. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.